I feel really bad for this crusty old Sega Mega Drive controller. And that might be because I am unwell today and I feel like I've been guzzling bleach and I'm just as crusty as this thing. But, I feel like it deserves a helping hand. When I first got my hands on it, it came with a random console I'd picked up with a bunch of stuff. Someone had like gouged the Sega logo from the front for some reason. I don't know what they've got against Sega in the big 26, but whatever. And all the writing was kind of faded, and I'd actually started cleaning this thing up as part of another video, but this unreliable camera decided to yeet that footage into the sun. So instead, I've got a plan B for getting this channel up and running because, as my old pappy used to say, like if you don't start, then you have not started, I guess. I think it was something like that. I want to know if I can put the innards of this thing into this modern USB Sega Mega Drive mini controller. And it might be a stupid idea, but we're doing it anyway. In theory, right? And remember that phrase because we're going to need it for when we mess this up. This should fit inside this because this is the Sega Mega Drive Model 1 controller, and so is this technically, even though it's a USB version. They're supposed to be identical. It's the whole thing. It's the whole reason you paid for this whenever this came out a few years ago. Big problem with that though. As I just said, that's a USB controller, and that has an old DB9 port from like back in the 80s and 90s. So, they might not be the same inside, and that wouldn't be unreasonable if they aren't, but we're going to find out anyway. And there might be some shouting, or there might not be some shouting because my throat is buggered, but usually there will be shouting. And yeah, we're just going to find out. We're going to wing it. Why not? Why not just wing it? That's the fun way to start this channel. Let's flip these controllers around and have a look at what we're dealing with in terms of operating. Some really pedantic differences aside, right? Like the fact the model number on the back of this is different from that, and other such delights. Both of these have 6 screw holes in the back, and that's promising, right? We can work with that. We can really work with that. Only slight issue is that these sort of look like smaller screws to these, and I'm hoping that's not the case. But you know what? We're just going to dive straight in. I already know what the old one looks like inside, so I'm going to pop that aside for a second, and we're going to focus on the fresh boy. Right, come here, you. We're going to get inside using what is this again? It's like a standard Phillips head screwdriver bit. I think it's actually called PH1 and the iFixit set, which is quite funny because it's bog standard as you can get. The new pad will open up without a hitch. Old pads, you're going to want to be careful with some of the old janky screws because those are going to be worn and probably want to strip. That looks like a smaller screw. I'm not happy. But we'll see. We'll see what we can do. Maybe those will be fine for the PCB on the other controller. Moment of truth. Let's find out if I'm completely wasting my time here. Okay. I mean, that sort of looks like the other PCB. It doesn't look dramatically different. Let's like pop it out and you watch this little plug that's designed as a stress relief for the cable. Yeah, all right. These are the same membranes. Same membranes, same sort of like button keys. All right, I think we're onto something here. This board like is massively simplified. Simplified. It's really simple compared to the old board with like much bigger resistors and some ceramic sort of components. This is great. I've unbuttoned the old pad, so let's have a look and see if there's anything drastically different at a glance. There's the old PCB, and that's what I was talking about with these old style sort of capacitors and resistors. Much larger sort of chip there. Yeah, but basically the same shape, right? Where did I put that other PCB? Let's grab that. Basically the same shape of PCB, which is fantastic. I love that for me. So let's lift this out again with the strain relief. We'll just set these two parts. Oh, I'm seeing a difference. Oh, there's a difference. Oh no. I don't know how much is going to matter, especially if we're just planting the old parts inside the new shell. But these membranes are slightly different shaped for some reason. I don't know why they've done that. It's really weird. They've got the individual sort of carbon membranes on the button side, but I don't know why they've changed this. This is weird. Let's get rid of this, and let's see if we can put the old PCB inside the new shell. This hole here on the bottom right of the PCB is too small for that post. All the rest of them are fine, it's clearing, there's enough clearance, they're basically the same size as the new PCB. For some reason, this old PCB has a slightly smaller hole there. So I'm going to have a look and see what we can do about that. I've got a funny feeling I can just widen it somehow without causing any destruction or damage. It's just that one there. I just need you to be slightly wider, please. Please. Well, I'm going to go and have a look and have a think. Potentially make a cup of tea because I'm starting to sound much worse. So I'm sort of working at this hole and you can probably see that there's not much PCB at the edge here. So I need to be really careful that I don't just bugger the whole thing. So we'll see. The good news is that this screw hole post now fits through the PCB because we've widened the hole and it didn't seem to cause much of a ruckus. The bad news is that that strain relief gland on the cable doesn't quite fit the new shell, which is really annoying. But I'm going to improvise a little bit by trying to narrow this sort of little kind of clamp insert so that it fits. And it's gonna be fine. No one needs to panic yet. Track. The back shell seems to fit fairly well. I mean, it looks fine to me. I need to button it up and see if everything feels right, if all the buttons press properly, and I'm going to do that right now. That's everything buttoned up. No complaints. Nothing cracked. Nothing made some worrying noises because you never know what's going to happen when you're trying to squeeze other bits into another shell. But yeah, the only thing I'd suggest is use a zigzag approach to putting screws back in when you're dealing with PCBs that fit into sort of a fixture, just in case there's like any weird strain, especially when you're putting them into something where you're trying to make it fit. Yeah, nice little zigzag sort of dance with the screwings back in, and you should be fine. But yeah, everything feels great. All the buttons feel as it should. Nothing's like jamming or doesn't have enough clearance, etc., etc. Right, let's get this minty fresh, sort of new old Sega Mega Drive controller hybrid plugged into, a Mega Drive, funnily enough. Let's go. I've had to switch to my phone because I can't trust that other camera, but just to answer the question of whether you can shove an old Mega Drive controller's innards inside a new Mega Drive mini controller shell, the answer is yes. Sonic 2 is probably the ideal game for this because all three buttons are mapped to jump. But yeah, the buttons are all responsive, they all work fine, the D-pad works fine. This phone isn't dealing with the refresh rate of the PVM very well, but yeah. There you go. That is the question answered, the project fulfilled. I'm away to lie in bed and have delirium dreams about, I don't know, Mega Drives, I guess. Catch you later.